What's going on, everyone? Gonna be doing a review today that's a bit past due. I hope you'll forgive me. We did something similar a while ago for Samba de Amiibo on the Wii. Today, though, we're reviewing Mega Man 11 for the Switch. Let's take a look. So before we get into this, I want to give a few ground rules for what the past due reviews are, since I've only done one other one thus far and there were no rules at the time. The games in past due reviews are reviewed entirely upon their own merit. If a game is older, I won't knock it for not having high quality modern visuals or sound. They are products of their time and they should be looked at as such. Also, I'll be looking at the product in 4 overall categories: visuals, sound, gameplay, and aesthetics. Aesthetics is kind of a catch-all. This is where things that have great packaging or box art or pack-ins will be noted. The rest are fairly self-explanatory. And like I mentioned in the intro, today we're looking at Mega Man 11 from Capcom, which released in 2018. Diving into the visuals, the game is pretty stunning to look at. It's a traditional 2-dimensional action platformer with 3D elements, meaning there will be 3D models on a 2D plane for platforming, so you'll be hopping around the stage and fighting the various robots that inhabit each area. Each enemy has a solid traditional Mega Man design. There's Mets, the little guys in the hard hats, Sniper Joes, Robot Bunnies, Nautilus-esque shielded enemies in the water levels, the bats from Mega Man 2 make a return. It all feels very familiar with a gorgeous new cone of paint on it. There's a whole new slew of Robot Masters this go as well, with each having a unique design aesthetic based on their theme, as, you'd hope to experience in a traditional side-scrolling Mega Man game. Acid Man, for instance, is all glass tubes and domes full of green acidic liquid. Bounce Man is made up of gigantic rubber balls. Block Man is stocky and surrounded in bricks, and Fuse Man, for example, has lightning rods sticking out of him. It's all really traditional, and a welcome return to form for the series. Gone are the days of Sheep Man and Pharaoh Man, and back are the robots that actually serve a purpose based on the lore of the games. And let's talk the Blue Bomber himself. Mega Man is a nice update on the traditional Sky and Royal Blue motif. He's a bit leaner and lankier than he was in, Mega Man 3. He's far more closer in appearance to Mega Man 8 than anything. But Capcom is wisely taking advantage of new technology and hardware and showing changes to the model for Mega Man beyond just a recolorization of the outfit. In previous games in the mainline series, Mega Man would just switch his shade to match the general design aesthetic of the opponent that he defeated. That still happens in Mega Man 11 as well, only now there's an actual arm attachment on the Mega Buster that will appear on Mega Man's model to show a different weapon in play. Bounce Man, for example, gives Mega Man a rounded helmet with several domes on it, and the Pile Driver weapon from Impact Man dresses Mega Man in orange, yellow, and black with a jackhammer spike on one hand, and a boxy kind of Tonka truck on his head for a helmet. There's a lot to like here. The stages are, as you'd expect, all unique and well designed. Tundra Man gives the requisite slippery level with ice bricks and wind blowing you around the stage. Acid Man has the underwater level, with a current going in different directions on each level, as well as floaty jumps, and debris you have to shoot or avoid to ensure you don't get killed, and what essentially becomes a glorified bounce house with Bounce Man stage. There's balls, balloons, inflatable hands that slap you across gaps, and a gigantic bungee platform you have to jump on to reach certain levels, as well as avoid obstacles. I think, personally, the biggest issue visually is the same thing that plagues every Mega Man game: reuse of assets. You see tons of lyric enemies, these little floating yellow cylinders that pop out of walls, as well as lots of Mets, Sniper Joes, and the mine-like Gabual. It's a minor problem in the grand scheme of things, but it's still noticeable. I caught myself on more than one occasion saying, "God, that guy again?" The visuals in the game, to me, are striking and well put together. But after a return to the 8-bit roots of the series in Mega Man's 9 and 10, I can understand why some would be put off by this. Personally, though, I think it's a nice step up for the series and offers a lot of visual options moving forward. From a sound perspective, the audio in the game is probably the most mixed bag area of the title, if I'm being honest. There's a significant amount of voice acting in the game, and none of it's bad, I want to be clear about that. It's just kind of ever-present. There's a lot of cutscenes where characters talk, the Robot Masters are super chatty, you get to talk to Roll and Otto in the shop, and Mega Man, Rush, and Dr. Light are all fairly conversational as well. Again, none of it's bad, it's just really frequent. Maybe it's just because it's so new to have this much talking in a Mega Man game that it's really sticking out in my head, but to me it feels like there's just too much dialogue being forced. Sound effects for the game are on point though. The Mega Buster charges and sounds correct when it's fired, impacts and jumps are all great, and enemies and weapons are all exactly what you'd hope. There's plenty of little audible indicators as you're playing to allow you the chance to prepare for enemies to approach or for them firing at you, which is all you can really hope for in the terms of sound effects in a platformer. It's all very efficient and of high quality. Where the audio falls down to me is in the music. I'm such a fan of the music from the Mega Man series that getting the music in this game is just kinda disappointing. None of it's really memorable or becomes an earworm like the music from the SNES and NES games. The only one I can really see getting stuck in my head is the theme for Fuse Man, and maybe On a Weird Day Bounce Man. A lot of it's just generic. It doesn't really do much for me personally. That said, there is free DLC now that offers you an opportunity to play instrumental arrangements for each stage as you're going through it, which is a nice touch. It doesn't make the themes any more memorable, but it's a wicked change of pace to have strings and pianos playing the Robot Master stage themes as opposed to the normal electronic arrangements. From a gameplay perspective, I wasn't someone who was a huge fan of 9 and 10, and that's just because I was completely overwhelmed by how hard they were. I mean, just straight up, I suck at games, y'all. With this game, I was really afraid I was going to be met with the same level of difficulty here. Mercifully though, I'm not. From jump, you're given difficulty options that range from the super easy to the incredibly difficult, so you're able to fine-tune things to your preference. And even at easier difficulty levels, what's up fellow casual players, the game still has enough of a challenge that you don't feel like you're just breezing through things. It's forgiving, but still fun and not a cakewalk. I really dig the store for this game where you're able to spend bolts to improve Mega Man as well as purchase things like energy tanks, 1-ups, and other accoutrements to make your adventure a bit easier. Everything from increasing the number of tanks you can carry, to add-ons that help you slide less on ice, to one that automatically diverts weapon energy collected to the least full weapon, all add to a significantly more satisfying gameplay experience. I'm a huge fan of the quick swap for weapons being on the right thumbstick, which allows you to select and change weapons on the fly rather than having to go into the pause menu. The only thing I don't really dig about that was a lack of energy gauge to quickly reference on the icons, nor could I figure out how to go back to just using the Mega Buster. So as much as I really like that feature, it sadly goes unused because strategizing which weapons to prioritize and use based on their remaining energy is a big way that I personally play Mega Man. It's so close to being great, but for my particular playstyle, it doesn't quite reach the level of usefulness I'd hoped for. Your mileage may vary. Another thing that felt a bit forced and out of place were the inclusion of mini-bosses on each level. It used to feel unique and special when you'd run into a gigantic creature, like the cats in the Woodman stage in Mega Man 2. But here in 11, they're in every single damn level. And honestly, they're a bigger challenge than the actual Robot Master for this stage. It's an uneven experience that I found myself getting frustrated with, and it just felt mandated that they were there. None of them are especially memorable, so it honestly feels like a lost opportunity to rein that in a bit and make it feel more exciting to run into them and less of a chore to deal with. I really like the different powers that Mega Man collects from the various Robot Masters. They're all really well designed and offer something a bit different. The block dropper is pretty awesome, allowing you to bring the ceiling down on your enemies. The acid barrier gives you a bit of a shield, as well as an acid shot that lets you inflict some offense. Think of it as an improved version of the leaf shield from Mega Man 2. There's 8 different weapons, as you'd expect, with 8 different Robot Masters and 8 different ways to use them. And they're all really fun to use. Each feels useful and unique, which can be a struggle at times in a Mega Man game. The biggest gameplay change this game, however, is the double gear system. Each shoulder button gives you a different boost. The left button gives you the power gear, which makes both your Mega Buster and power-ups more effective. For example, the block dropper will go from dropping 4 blocks to dropping 20, and the Mega Buster will be stronger and fire double. The right button gives you the speed gear, which slows things down on the screen, allowing you to make jumps more accurately and avoid enemies more regularly. Tapping both shoulders at the same time will enter double gear mode, slowing the screen down and charging up your weapon. And the nice thing is, it's hard to overuse. You have an overheating gauge that fills up as the gears are used, and it takes a while for them to cool down to be used again. You can collect gear items that will reset your gauge, but they're few and far between, meaning you can't overkill this new gameplay mechanic. I can see why some people wouldn't like this. It's a bit of a departure and a bit weird for Mega Man, but personally, I actually really like it. Aesthetically, from a packaging perspective, it's pretty straightforward. You've got one insert advertising the XD and Mega Man Legacy collections, and a single-sided cover for the box art that, frankly, it looks great. It's a fairly no-frills package, all told, and it doesn't need to do more than it has to. The biggest extra for this game is the Amiibo that came with the version I purchased. It's a significantly more dynamic sculpt than the Smash Amiibo. You can really see the improvements and differences between the two. There's also a ton of in-game extras as well. As I mentioned, one of the big ones is the free DLC that gives you the instrumental versions of the stage music, and it's great. Additionally, there's all of the unlockables to improve Mega Man in the store you can purchase with bolts you collect in-game. There's also a series of achievements, online leaderboards, challenges, and a gallery for you to view different enemies and bosses you've encountered throughout the game. I don't personally like to give out scores and reviews since it is so subjective. My 7 out of 10 could be someone else's 5 out of 10. So it kind of boils down to, is this worth playing or not? For me, yeah, absolutely. But then again, I am a huge fan of Mega Man. I've been playing the games now for decades, so this was a no-brainer for me. I'm also predisposed to liking all things Mega Man, so me saying it's worth it doesn't necessarily apply to all people. There's a lot to like here, but the things that miss are, frankly, big misses. The double gear system is kind of weird for the Mega Man franchise, the music is kind of unmemorable, and there are some questionable stage encounters with mini-bosses that I don't really dig. But overall, I've enjoyed the hell out of the game, and I'm now on my second playthrough of it. If you're a Mega Man fan, I do think it's worth checking out. If you're not, I would suggest checking out the Mega Man Legacy Collection so you can get a feel for what the series used to be. That's going to do it for today, guys, but before I go, I want to hear from you. What's your personal favorite power-up from a Mega Man game? Let me know in the comments down below. I think for me it's probably the Quick Boomerang from Mega Man 2 or the Black Hole Bomb from Mega Man 5. There's some great ones here in 11 to be sure, but those two would probably be my favorites. If you enjoyed today's video, please do consider liking it, sharing it, subscribing if you haven't done so already, and ringing the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything we've got going on. Until next time, guys, I have been Jay. I appreciate you being here. Play more games, stay square, and take care. We'll talk to you soon.